information session hosted by Congressman David Price, Congressman G.K. Butterfield, and Congresswoman Deborah Ross. I'm Tracy Levitt, Outreach Director for Congressman David Price, and I'll be serving as moderator for today's discussion. This event will be recorded in case you miss a portion of the conversation. We are also planning on live streaming the event on Facebook. If the live stream is disconnected, we will post it in full on our website at price.house.gov and on social media. Before we begin, I'd like to give you a few details about the flow of the call. First, Congressman Price will offer a welcome and introductory remarks on the American Rescue Plan and the creation of the Child Tax Credit. Next, Congressman Butterfield will discuss what the expanded Child Tax Credit means for families and its impact it has on reducing child poverty. Following his remarks, Congresswoman Ross will give a brief update on the American Families Plan and efforts to extend the child tax credit further. After these remarks, we'll hear from Paul Axelson, who is the Legislative Affairs District Congressional Liaison for the Internal Revenue Service, and he will give a short presentation on the child tax credit and how individuals can access the program and other financial resources that will be available for families. Finally, Glennis Ingwald, the local taxpayer advocate with the IRS Taxpayer Advocate Service in Greensboro, will give us a brief overview of the services that are available through her organization. After these remarks, we'll head straight into the question and answer portion of the program. If you have questions regarding the child tax credit, please use the question and answer function on Zoom. Type in your question. When we get to the Q&A portion, we'll begin first with a few pre-submitted questions, and then we'll go to the live questions in the chat. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Congressman David Price of North Carolina's 4th Congressional District for a welcome. Congressman?
All right, thank you, Tracy, and good afternoon, everyone. I am David Price, representing the 4th District. That includes all or part of Chatham, Durham, Franklin, Granville, Orange, Vance, and Wake counties. I'm also happy to have with us today in this call two colleagues, Representative G.K. Butterfield of the 1st District, Deborah Ross from the 2nd District. I think among the three of us, we pretty well have Piedmont, North Carolina covered, at least the part from Durham east and south, and north for that matter. It does cover a good swath of the state, and in the case of Mr. Butterfield, goes quite far east. We appreciate the participation in this call. We've had good response, especially in the last 24 hours, just responding in some cases to our calls, others just seeing the publicity about this. So we have a lot of people tuned in, people who can take advantage, I hope, of the child tax credit, but also people who are working with people who can take advantage of the child tax credit, people in various nonprofit and faith-based and other organizations, people in local government. There are lots of people who I think we're going to count on to get the word out about this. We have some special guests who can help fill us all in today. From the Internal Revenue Service, Paul Axelson, and from the and then from the she'll tell you about her program, the tax information program, Glennis Ingwald. So we'll be hearing from them in just a moment. The COVID pandemic did shine a bright light on a lot of problems in this country, a lot of inequalities that exist, and highlighted that many families with children in particular have been struggling to meet ends meet. This, of course, was true before the pandemic. It's certainly been true in the course of the pandemic. The problems, the challenges have only been exacerbated. And we've seen then record unemployment. We've seen affordable childcare shortages. Families have been forced to make very, very difficult choices. The good news is that help is here, serious help. The American Rescue Plan, which was signed into law by President Biden in March, is going to provide direct relief to hardworking families. And a critical part of the American Rescue Plan that we're going to focus on here today and just make sure everybody knows about it is the child tax credit, a very, very significant part of this rescue plan. The American Rescue Plan expanded the child tax credit amount from $2,000 per child up to $3,600 per child. Just as important as the increased amount of the credit is the fact that for the first time, families with little or no income are eligible for the full credit amount. Even if you have little or no tax liability, you still are eligible for the full amount of the credit. In other words, it's, as we say, a refundable tax credit. Additionally, while normal tax relief only occurs after you file your taxes, this expanded tax credit is going to let you receive relief early, very soon, before you file the tax forms, in monthly payments, so up to $300 per child from July to December of this year. Going forward, families will be able to claim the rest of the tax credit when they file their 2021 tax returns next year. This historic expansion will provide these advanced payments to something like 39 million households nationally. And that's over 47,000 households right here in North Carolina's 4th District, and I'm sure comparable numbers in the 1st and 2nd districts. Most families should start automatically receiving these monthly payments beginning the middle of this month, July 15th. But we're excited to be hosting this information session so that we can help ensure that every eligible family gets more of their hard-earned money back for needed expenses. And so we're going to have some good information about how to access this, no matter what your tax status is. This critical tax relief will help our children achieve success. It'll put money directly in the pocket of working families each month. And we're excited to be able to tell you about it and ask you to help us spread the word. Now I'm going to turn our program over to my friend and colleague from the 1st District, Congressman G.K. Butterfield. He's going to tell us more about how the child tax credit will benefit families. Congressman Butterfield.
Yes, thank you very much, Congressman Price, for including me in the program today. I really look forward to it with great anticipation. You know, before we left Washington a few days ago in our Democratic caucus meeting, we talked about how critically important this is for our constituents. And so what we're doing today is in furtherance of what other members are doing all across the country. And so I thank the IRS representative for joining us today. I thank the tax advocate for being on the line. I look forward to a very productive conversation this afternoon. And let me thank all of you for joining the call today to learn more about how North Carolinians will benefit from the recent changes to the child tax credit. We've all heard about the child tax credit, but there are so many people who really don't fully understand and comprehend the importance of this tax credit and what it can mean for families. And so as we begin this conversation today, let me just take a moment to publicly recognize my friend, your Congressman David Price, for his steadfast and forceful leadership in Washington. I just wish all of you could be there daily to see his work. I know Congresswoman Deborah Ross, she is a new addition, a valuable addition to our caucus, and she sees it every day as I do. The incredible work that he does and the respect that David Price has from our colleagues. And so you should be very fortunate to have a congressman of the caliber of Congressman David Price. But this call today is not about David Price, it's about the tax credit. So let's get right into it. As Mr. Price said, congressional Democrats through the American Rescue Plan made an historic change. It is very historic to the child tax credit for low-income Americans with children. I want to emphasize that, low-income families with children, which will cut child poverty almost in half. You may have seen President Biden on television over the last few weeks talking about how this income tax credit will reduce child poverty almost by 50%. The child tax credit is now available to children and families with low or no earnings. Mr. Price alluded to that a moment ago. Before the American Rescue Plan, almost 27 million children, including half of all African American and Latino children, were unable to receive the full credit because their family's income was too low, if you can believe that, even though children with higher family incomes were receiving the full credit. The American Rescue Plan makes the child tax credit available to families with little or no earnings in a year, making it fully refundable and ensuring that the most vulnerable can benefit from this credit. In addition to expanding the eligibility, the maximum credit, we raised it from $2,000 to $3,000 per child over the age of 6. We raised it to $3,600 per child under the age of 6. The American Rescue Plan also extends the credit to 17-year-olds. Over 2 million North Carolina families will benefit from these changes. That's why we're so excited about this. In total, the changes to the child tax credit will lift 137,000 children in North Carolina out of poverty. Starting next week on July 15, 39 million households, covering 90% of all children in the United States, will start receiving monthly payments with no additional action required from families. The Internal Revenue Service will deposit monthly payments into bank accounts that are currently on file with the IRS by using either their 2020 or 2019 tax return information. The Internal Revenue Service will mail paper checks. We made sure we included that in the legislation. We'll mail paper checks to families that do not have bank accounts on file. The Internal Revenue Service is urging families to file their tax returns if they have not already done so, to ensure they receive payments that they qualify for. Payments of up to $300 per month for children under the age of 6 and $250 per month for children ages 6 to 17 will be made on July 15th, August 13th, September 15th, October 15th, November, and December 15th. That is a big deal, ladies and gentlemen. Research shows that poverty during childhood is linked to worse outcomes later in life. By lifting children, our precious, vulnerable children and their families out of poverty, we are helping to set up our children for better health, higher levels of educational attainment, higher future earnings, and reducing their likelihood of drug and alcohol abuse. And so Congresswoman Deborah Ross and Congressman David Price and myself, we are all just absolutely excited about this opportunity, and I hope you can hear it in our voice. Thank you so very much for listening at this time. It is my pleasure to yield back to Tracy Lovett.
Thank you, Congressman Butterfield. Next, we have Congresswoman Ross, who is going to highlight the American Families Plan, and then she'll turn it over to Paul Axelson.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you so much to Congressman Price and his staff for organizing this event. Congressman Butterfield could not have said it better. He is a leader in the House and sets a great example both for Congress and for North Carolina. And it's an honor for me to be here both with Congressman Price and Congressman Butterfield, who have helped me in my first 6 months in Congress, and I could not have better colleagues. This is such an important issue. And I want you to know that in addition to having the affordable, the tax credit, which is refundable, be available now, the American Families Plan, which has been proposed by the Biden administration, and we are working to pass through Congress, would extend the expansion of the child tax credit through 2025. This would lift millions of children out of poverty on a long-term basis, and it would create the best kinds of outcomes for these children and their families. Accessing vital resources and childcare are essential for working families and for people living in poverty. And they weigh very, very heavily on families' financial decisions. But with the child tax credit, families can make decisions in the best interest of their children. The American Families Plan will help hardworking single parents in particular, who are often placed in a position where they must choose between keeping a job and sending their children to safe childcare. An extended tax credit would reduce the impossible burden that faces single parents and many others. The American Families Plan details a comprehensive solution to these pressing economic injustices, and I'm grateful that it includes the extension of the child tax credit until 2025. In my district alone, 184,000 children will benefit from the expanded and improved tax credit, and over 13,000 children will be lifted out of poverty. In the entire state of North Carolina, the extended tax credit will lift 140,000 children out of poverty, including more than 6 in 10 Native American children, half of all Black children, and nearly half of all Latinx children. The American Families Plan makes the child tax credit fully and permanently refundable, extending the full credit to low and no income families. This is a pivotal step in creating an inclusive economy where income does not dictate access to support and opportunity. When parents have the resources they need, they can go back to work. They can pick up hours. They can contribute to their families and to their communities. In addition, this support will allow parents to provide children with the resources they need to succeed in school. The expanded child tax credit could play a key role in closing the achievement gap. Ultimately, expanding the child tax credit is a matter of supporting our future leaders, innovators, educators, and thinkers. I can think of no better way to build back better than to invest in the next generation. I now have the pleasure of introducing Paul Axelson from the IRS to explain how this works.
Thank you, Congresswoman Ross and Congresswoman Price, for putting this together. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today and to talk to your constituents about the child tax credit and the advance payments on that credit. They're going to begin a week from today, as has been pointed out a couple of times. They begin on July 15th, a week from today. And as has been mentioned, the American Rescue Plan expanded and enhanced the child tax credit for the 2021 tax year, and in addition, instructed the IRS to provide advance payments on the credit. Since the payments start soon, let's start with the advance payments and answer the question, what are they? Advanced child tax credit payments are early payments from the IRS of up to 50% of the estimated amount of the child tax credit the taxpayers may claim on their 2021 tax return next year. If the IRS has processed your 2020 tax return or 2019, and either indicates you will be able to claim the 2021 child tax credit, you are already enrolled to receive monthly advance payments. As I said, they begin next week on the 15th. As Congressman Butterfield pointed out, they continue on the 15th of the month through December. The amounts of your payments are based on the information contained on your 2019 or 2020 tax return, whichever has been most recently received and processed. Now, what to do, or what do people need to do to get the advance payments? And as Congressman Butterfield pointed out as well, generally nothing. As I said, if you're eligible to receive advanced child tax credit payments based on your 2020 or 2019 tax return, you will receive those payments automatically. There's nothing that you need to do. However, some people will have to take some action to receive the advanced tax credit payments. And these are those who have not filed a 2020 or 2019 federal tax return. The IRS has unveiled an online non-filer tool that will allow individuals who were not required to file and have not filed a 2020 tax return, and it will basically put together a simplified tax return for you. This simplified tax return will allow eligible individuals, to sign up for the advanced child tax credit payments, but that's not all. It will also allow you to sign up for, if you have not received it, the third economic impact payment. And if you haven't received the first or second round of economic impact payments, it will allow you to claim the 2020 recovery rebate credit. That refundable credit would be the amount of the first round and second round payments that you did not receive. Now, I want to be clear about the online non-filer tool. It's for people who were not required to file and did not file a 2020 or 2019 tax return. If you filed one of those two returns, we already have you in our system and no action on your part is necessary. I'll talk a little bit more about the non-filer in a few minutes, but first, in June, the IRS sent taxpayers eligible for the advanced child tax credit payments a letter numbered 6417 or letter 6417. This letter informs you of the amount of your estimated child tax credit payments and indicates where you can find additional information. Please hang on to that letter. Now, what if you don't want to receive advance payments? And some people will not. So what if you don't want to get these advance payments? If you prefer not to receive monthly advanced child tax credit payments because you just rather claim the full credit when you file your 2020 tax return, for example, or you know you will not be eligible for the child tax credit in 2021, you can unenroll through the IRS's online child tax credit update portal. I'll talk about this a little more in the future too. Now, who's eligible for the payments? Pretty simple. You qualify for advanced child tax credit payments if you have a qualifying child. Also, you or your spouse, if married and filing a joint return, must have your main home in the United States, the 50 states and the District of Columbia, for more than half of the year. Your main home can be any location where you normally live. Certain income limits also apply, and I'll cover those in a few minutes. Question that keeps coming up: are the advance payments taxable? No. Advanced child tax credit payments are not income and will not be reported as income on your 2021 tax return. Advanced child tax credit payments are an advance of up to half of your 2021 child tax credit. The total amount of advanced child tax credits that you received during 2021 is, as I said, based on the IRS's estimate of your 2021 child tax credit. The estimate is from your 2020 or 2019 tax return information. Now, if the total of your advance payments is greater than the child tax credit amount that you're ultimately entitled to claim on your 2021 tax return, you may, and I have to emphasize, may have to repay an excess amount. But I wouldn't worry too much about this. I'll talk about it a little more in case anybody's getting a little bit worried about that statement. But there is the possibility that someone may get an excess payment in advance and have to repay it. For example, if you receive advanced child tax credit payments for 2 qualifying children claimed on your 2020 tax return, but you no longer have those qualifying children in 2021, the advanced child tax credit payments that you received based on those children will be added to your 2021 income tax unless you qualify for something called repayment protection. I'm sorry, we won't have time to really get into repayment protection in detail today. So suffice to say that it's available to those with low to moderate income, and if necessary, you'll determine whether you qualify for it when you file your 2021 tax return. If you're enrolled for advance payments and think you may not be eligible for the 2021 tax credit, you may wish to enroll from receiving the advance payments. Another reason you may wish to enroll is a case of divorced parents, for example. Often divorced parents will alternate years claiming their children. So for example, if parent A claimed the children on their 2020 tax return, they're the one in line for the advance payments. However, 2021 will be parent B's turn to claim the children. So parent A may wish to unenroll. That way parent B can claim them when she or he files their 2021 tax return. We expect that instances where someone will be required to pay an excess amount of the child tax credit will be rare. But if you're concerned, keep in mind, I mentioned you can unenroll from the advance payments through the child tax credit portal on irs.gov. And if using the online portal is not an option for you, you can call the Internal Revenue Service at 800-908-4184. I mentioned hanging on to that notice that you got. That number is on that notice. And again, that number is 800-908-4184. And by the way, when you call the Internal Revenue Service about this, have your ID and copies of your last couple of years' tax returns handy so the IRS representative can confirm your identity quickly and you don't have to go run find something. Another option to unenroll is to arrange an appointment at an IRS Taxpayer Assistance Center in your area. To do that, call the IRS at 844-545-5640. You can find that number on the IRS website, by the way, by entering "Contact My Local Office" in the search box. And again, the number to call for an appointment is 844-545-5640. Before I move on, one more thing about the child tax credit portal. It currently allows you to elect not to receive the advanced child tax payments, as I mentioned, but also it allows you to update your bank information or add it in order to receive the advance payments by direct deposit instead of by check. Direct deposit is the fastest and most secure way to receive your payments. In the future, the IRS will also add some more features to this portal. A little later on this year, it will allow you to update your mailing address, add or subtract the number of your qualifying children, including by reason of birth or adoption of a child. It will allow you to report a change in your marital status and report a change in your income. A little bit more on eligibility. If you're not sure you qualify, the IRS has an advanced child tax credit eligibility assistant on our website at irs.gov. Without having to provide any sensitive information, any sensitive personal information, this tool allows you to quickly check your eligibility by answering some very basic questions. You can also find more information on the child tax credit in IRS publication 972, called conveniently Child Tax Credit. The publication is available online or by mail. To order by mail, call the IRS at 800-TAX-FORM, TAXFORM. That's 800-829-3676. I mentioned earlier that to get the advance payments, you must have a qualifying child. So who is a qualifying child? A qualifying child is someone you care for who is your son, daughter, stepchild, eligible foster child, your brother, your sister, stepbrother or stepsister, half-brother or half-sister, grandchild, niece, or nephew. So generally speaking, it can be any close relative and anyone for whom you have legal custody. In addition, a qualifying child must have a social security number and live with you for more than half the year. Those are some of the very basic requirements. So to be sure you're eligible, see the eligibility assistant or the publication I just mentioned. Both congressmen went over this a little bit, but let me just do it one more time. How much is the 2021 child tax credit? And I'm going to throw in some things about the income limits I mentioned earlier. For the tax year 2021, the child tax credit is increased from $2,000 per qualifying child to $3,600 for children ages 5 and under at the end of 2021, and $3,000 for children ages 6 through 12 at the end of 2021. So someone with one child under age 6 and one age 6 to 17 could be eligible for a $6,600 credit, refundable credit for 2021, and receive up to half that amount, or $3,300 in advance payments. Now let me turn to the income limits a little bit. They work in 2 steps. The first step phases the amount of the credit down to $200 per or $2,000. I apologize. First step phases the amount of the credit down to $2,000 per child. The second step phases the credit from $2,000 per child down to $0. The first step begins to phase down the credit to $2,000 in increments if your adjusted gross income exceeds $150,000 if married and filing a joint return, $112,500 if filing as head of household, or $75,000 if you are a single filer or a married and filing separate return filer. The second step begins to phase the amount of the credit down below $2,000 per child if your adjusted gross income exceeds some pretty high levels. $400,000 if married and filing a joint return, or $200,000 for all other filing statuses. Now, for most people, these income limits will not apply, but they will for some. And as I said, I wanted to mention them because I wanted to mention the income limits because we inevitably get questions from people who get less than they expected. They've heard, for example, that the credit is a certain amount and they don't understand why they got less. Very likely that will have something to do with their income. And before I move on, I want to mention that non-filers tool again. This is a very important tool for people who have low income, are not required to file an income tax return. This tool will allow them to access the child tax credit and the advance payments on it. Remember, I mentioned that the non-filer tool is just that. For people who are not required to file and didn't file a 2020 or 2019 tax return, it allows them to sign up for or access the advanced child tax credit payments. So quickly, who isn't required to file a tax return? Anyone whose income is below the filing requirement. The filing requirement threshold is the amount of your standard deduction. So for 2020, that would be $12,400 for a single filer, $24,800 for someone married filing a joint return, and $18,650 for someone filing as head of household. So if that's you and you have qualifying children, you can use the IRS's online non-filer tool to sign up for the monthly advanced child tax credit payments. In addition, as I mentioned, the tool is designed to help eligible individuals who don't normally file tax returns get the $1,400 third round of economic impact payments, also known as stimulus checks, and claim the recovery rebate for any amount of the first two rounds of economic impact payments they may have missed. So it will get you more than lined up or signed up for the child tax credit. It will also, if you have not received some of your economic impact payments, it will help you get those too. Now the tool is free. There's no cost to use it. For help using the tool, the IRS has a publication 5538. I've sent that out to all of the congressional offices in South Carolina, North Carolina, the Virginias, Maryland, several other places just this morning. So that publication is out there. Some of your congressional offices may have it. The tool is free, as I said, no cost to use it. Get that publication 5538. It is a step-by-step guide to using the non-filer tool. You can find it on our website, or you can get it by calling 800-829-3676. To find the online tool, go to irs.gov. That's our main website, webpage rather. On that homepage, click on Get Answers on the Advanced Child Tax Credit. It's right there. You'll see it as soon as you get to our homepage. Or you can search Advanced Child Tax Credit on our website or on your favorite commercial search engine if you want. Once you're on the Advanced Child Tax Credit page, look for Non-Filers Submit Your Information. That's the non-filers tool that low-income non-filers need to use to submit their information and get signed up for the advance payments starting next week. Once you're at the tool, review the sections titled Who Should Use This Tool, How It Works, and What You Need. Don't be anxious and click on Start right away. Read through some of the information that's there. Then go ahead and click on use the non-filer sign-up tool. The next step will take you to IRS Free File. I need to assure you, this is a legitimate website. It may not look exactly like the IRS website, but it is legit. Review the information at the top of that page and then click on Get Started. The next step will take you to create an account. Again, this is a legitimate website, and creating a personal account is for your protection. We don't want anyone registering for the advance payments in your name. Once you've created an account, you'll be asked to provide just enough information for the IRS to determine your eligibility and get you signed up for advanced child tax credit payments, along with, as I've said, any economic impact or stimulus payments you may have missed. Your information will be electronically provided to the IRS in the form of a simplified 2020 tax return. You can include on this return your bank account information to get your payments by direct deposit instead of by check in the mail. Even if you're uncomfortable with using online tools, I encourage you to give the non-filer tool a try. And if you need to, find someone who can help you work through it. It is by far the fastest way to register for the advanced child tax credit payments, and we don't want anyone to miss out. The payments are only available until December of this year. I should say at this point, the payments are, as I said, up to half the amount of the credit we estimate that you'll be eligible for. And they will be spread out over these 6 monthly payments beginning next week and then continuing through December. If you were to, for example, sign up today, it is probably too late for you to get the payment in July. However, we will still get you half the amount of the credit by spreading those payments out over 5 monthly payments instead of 6. And one last thing, before I let it go on to the next person, I mentioned some phone numbers and websites for help, so let me repeat those for anyone who didn't jot them down. The first stop for help on this is the IRS website at irs.gov. On the homepage, look for the link titled Get Answers on the Advanced Child Tax Credit. You'll find many resources there. Also on our website, you can find the Advanced Child Tax Credit Eligibility Assistant. You can find the portal that I've mentioned. It's called the Child Tax Credit Update portal. This portal allows you to basically manage your payments. You can unenroll, re-enroll later. You can change your address, add your bank account, add a child, subtract a child. You can tell us about changes to your income so that we can adjust the amount of your advance payments accordingly. You can find the non-filer tool on our website. That's for anyone who needs to sign up for the advanced child tax credit payments because they haven't filed a tax return for the past 2 years, 2020, 2019. If online options don't work for you, here's that number to call again. It's 800-901, 800-908-4184. It's on your notice that you got telling you you're enrolled in the payments. And to arrange an appointment with the Internal Revenue Service in your area, call us at 844-545-5640. And with that, I'll turn it over to the next speaker, taxpayer advocate Glynis Engvall, and look forward to answering your questions at the end.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you to Representative Price for organizing this, and happy to be here alongside Representative Ross and Representative Butterfield and their constituents. And I appreciate the opportunity to give a 2 or 3 minute taxpayer advocate service commercial. I'm here with Rose Powell, and together we lead the Greensboro, North Carolina Local Taxpayer Advocate Service Office. And it's known as TAS, but Taxpayer Advocate Service is an independent organization within the IRS that helps taxpayers and protect taxpayer rights. We can help resolve your problems with the IRS that you can't resolve yourself, and our services are free. We report to both Congress and the Commissioner of Internal Revenue Service. So we have two opportunities to advocate for change and for your rights. The rights that we help protect there are 10 of them. Some of the top ones include the right to be informed, the right to finality, the right to representation, the right to challenge the IRS's position and be heard, the right to privacy, the right to confidentiality, representation and quality service, and the right to a fair and just tax system. I think that might have been 10. Where do you find us? I know that phone numbers and addresses change a whole lot, but you can still find us at taxpayeradvocate.irs.gov. When do you need to come to us? So there's 3 top situations where you would want to seek out help from Taxpayer Advocate Service, but we first encourage you to try to resolve your issue with the IRS. I have to say how proud I am of IRS for rolling out all of these great tools in the middle of filing season and post-filing season, and it's just a Herculean effort and unprecedented. So with that, try to resolve your problem with IRS first. But come to us if your problem with IRS is causing financial difficulties for you or your family or your business. If you or your business is facing an immediate threat of adverse action, or if you've tried repeatedly to contact the IRS, but no one has responded as promised. You will, to seek specific help, you'll fill out a form 911 for help, which is available and linkable from the Taxpayer Advocate website I gave previously. We are physically present in every state. Sometimes there's 2 of us. So lucky for North Carolinians, there are 2 local Taxpayer Advocate offices. There's our shop in Greensboro, and there is another shop in Charlotte, North Carolina office. And I have to say too that we have already been answering some inquiries from constituents and the public about the anticipated child tax credit. And my advice is to open that IRS letter. Sometimes people get an IRS letter, they don't open it and they don't realize that money is coming to you. So open that letter, it's a 6417. And like Paul said, keep it because it has valuable contact information in it. So thank you again so much for having us. We're so proud to be here. And I will turn over the floor to the next speaker.
Well, thank you. Thank you to all of our panelists. I do want to put in a plug that the Taxpayer Advocate Service is a wonderful service. They've done a great job for the congressional staff. So we do appreciate the work that you all do. And thank you, Paul, for that great information. We are now going to move into the question and answer sessions. We've gotten a lot of great pre-submitted questions. So as a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question about the child tax credit, please use the question and answer feature on Zoom and type it into the chat. So our first question is for Shabazz in Raleigh. And this question is for Paul. And she asks, how would receiving the child tax credit affect low-income people that receive assistance from the government? Does it count as income? And this question is for Paul.
Paul, you're muted.
Apologies, I forgot I was still muted. I guess the answer, let me back up and say I believe the question was, would receiving the child tax credit affect low-income people that receive government assistance, and does it count as income?
Correct.
And the answers are no and no.
No and no. Okay.
Right. Under the American Rescue Plan, advanced child tax credit payments cannot be counted as income when determining if someone is eligible for benefits or assistance or how much they can receive under any federal program or under any state or local program financed in whole or in part with federal funds. So again, No, the advance payments or the child tax credit will not affect low-income people that receive assistance from the government. And no, it does not count as income.
Okay, thank you for that answer. So the next question we have is from Amy in Wake Forest, and this question is going to be for Congressman Price. And the question asks, will the expanded child tax credit continue into 2022?
The short answer is no. This is a temporary 1-year tax credit. You will receive these advance payments throughout the balance of 2021, and then you'll receive the rest of the credit when you file your taxes, your 2021 taxes in 2022. We want to make this permanent, though, as Congresswoman Ross has already stressed. This is a big deal. This year, we're going to reduce the amount of child poverty in this country by 40%. Just think about that. That is a very, very significant effect. And so why should we not want to continue this? We do want to continue. President Biden has made this a centerpiece of the American Families Plan. And the idea, of course, is to permanently expand and reform the child tax credit and do that through, I think it's through 2025 in the American Families Plan, and hopefully we'll do it beyond that. But what you should know about what's been described by Paul and our others guests today is that this is a 1-year temporary plan, and the question is still before the Congress whether to make it permanent.
Got it. Thank you, Congressman. The next question is from Paula in Durham, and this is again for Paul. And she asks, if I have an infant in August of 2021, how do I begin accessing the child tax credit, and how long will it take?
Well, Paula, if you're expecting, congratulations, and I hope all goes well. In my presentation, I covered the IRS Child Tax Credit Update Portal. That online tool is the fastest way for you to let the IRS know when you have the child, so we can begin your advanced child tax credit payments. In fact, you may want to go visit that portal now. Set up your account so you'll be ready when the time comes. And remember, you'll need to get the child their social security number before you can add them. Now, how long will it take to start getting the payments for your new child? Keep in mind, as has been said, the advance payments are made on the 15th of the month through December. If you add the child on or before the 1st of the month, your payments will begin starting with that next monthly payment. If the online tax credit portal doesn't work for you, I'm going to give this number one more time. Call the IRS at 800-908-4184. But do know, if you go this route, it may take a little longer to get your payments started, because your new information will have to be added manually by someone here at the Internal Revenue Service. And if you call, again, have your ID and your last couple of years worth of tax returns handy. And if calling or using the online tool doesn't work, call us for an appointment. And again, that number, 844-545-5640. I'm going to go out on a limb real quick and just say I'm going to guess that appointments may be a little difficult to come by in the next few weeks, perhaps in the next few months. So if you do decide to go this route, do try and set up an appointment as soon as possible.
Thank you. So our next question is for Diane in Raleigh, and this is for Congresswoman Ross, and she asks, as a community leader, what can I do to educate and aid parents with the procedure to sign up for the tax credit?
Well, what a great question, Diane. Thank you so much for wanting to help other people with this. The first thing you might want to do is have the person watch this webinar, because they will get a lot of good information just by hearing what we had to say. The other thing is that they can be in touch with my office or Congressman Price's office or Congressman Butterfield's office. And you can help them if they don't have good computer skills. And so it's just fine for you to sit with them and help them if they don't have good computer skills. So those are 3 ideas for what to do. But this webinar will be rebroadcast, and that'll be a really, really good introduction.
Congresswoman Ross, may I add something? This is Paul from IRS.
Absolutely.
On the IRS website, under the Advanced Child Tax Credit Payments section, you'll find an outreach toolkit that is just for the kind of people that this person is, just the kind of person who wants to help folks access this credit. I mentioned a publication 5538. That's the step-by-step guide to using the tool. That will be very valuable to have. The outreach package or outreach toolkit includes a number of things like how to reach people, how to explain the credit, how to get them to sign up, how to reassure them that what they're doing is legitimate and secure.
Thanks, Paul.
Exactly. Thank you, Paul, and thank you, Congresswoman Ross. Both of those were great answers. Outreach is going to be very important in this process. So the next question is for Virginia in Chapel Hill, and this is again for Paul. And Virginia wants to know, does the recipient of the child tax credit have to be a citizen or only a taxpayer?
Well, Virginia, only a taxpayer. As I mentioned, to qualify, you and your spouse, if filing jointly, must have a social security number or an individual tax identification number, which is commonly referred to as an ITIN. ITINs are available to non-citizens, so they will qualify. Also, you'll receive the advanced child tax credit payments only if you used your correct social security number or ITIN when you filed your 2020 or 2019 return. And the qualifying child must have an SSN, so be aware of that. But to answer your question again, yes, a non-citizen can qualify. You don't have to be a citizen to qualify. You just have to have an individual tax ID number or ITIN.
Got it. Thank you. Now, our next question is going to be for Congressman Butterfield. The question is, how will the expanded child tax credit help parents get back to work?
Thank you very much for that question. You know, between our 3 districts, I calculate we represent more than 2.5 million North Carolinians. And many of these individuals have been able to go back to work and they have been restored to their previous jobs and things are getting normal. But many parents in our 3 districts have been unable to return to work. Many of them have been unable to find work. And you know why? Because they cannot afford outside professional child care. That's a big deal. The expanded child tax credit will help provide working families with more child care options. And it will defray the cost of child care so that our constituents can return to work. Women, and especially women of color, I might say, have been hit the hardest during the pandemic. And the extra support from the expanded child tax credit will be instrumental in creating enough stability so they can return to work. And you know what? If you are a parent who depends on professional child care, you know what I'm talking about. You certainly understand the challenges faced by families with young children. These payments, ladies and gentlemen, are waiting for you. Go get it. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Butterfield. So our last pre-submitted question is for Paul. And the question is, for the prepayment of the child tax credit, if you receive the payments, but then make more in 2021, will you have to pay it back?
Short answer is you might. It's unlikely, but you might. So if you're seeing a significant increase in your income in 2021, you may want to use that child tax credit update portal I mentioned. You can use that to unenroll from the advance payments in favor of claiming the credit when you file your 2021 tax return next year. Or coming soon, as I mentioned, the portal will allow you to report an increase in income that the IRS can use to adjust your monthly advance payments down to an appropriate level and ensure you don't get an overpayment you might have to pay back. But keep in mind, under the American Rescue Plan, you will only receive half of what the IRS estimates your final 2021 child tax credit will be, and the amount of the final tax credit only begins to decrease in the two incremental steps I mentioned earlier. If we have a little time, I'll go through it. When you file your 2021 tax return, you're going to calculate the final amount of your 2021 child tax credit and then reconcile that amount by subtracting the amount of your advance payments. So for example, simplest example I can make, you're a single filer with one qualifying child age 6 to 17. On your 2020 tax return, your modified adjusted gross income was under $75,000. So based on that, the IRS estimates you'll qualify for a $3,000 tax credit in 2021. So we're going to be advancing you half that, or $1,500 between now and the end of the year. If the IRS estimate turns out to be correct and your 2021 income is still under $75,000, you have no problem. The child tax credit amount on your 2021 return is $3,000. You subtract the $1,500 you got in advance. The balance is, as has been said, a refundable credit amount on your 2021 tax return. So you'll get that amount as well. On the other hand, if your 2021 income turns out to be more than or $75,000 or more, the amount of your 2021 child tax credit begins to decrease. And as I mentioned, that's a two-step process. Let me cover that very, very quickly to hopefully allay many people's fears about having to repay part of this. In the first step, your credit goes down incrementally to $2,000. Let's say you still qualify for a $2,000 credit. In my previous example, you got $1,500 in advance. So you're still okay. You still got a $500 refundable credit on your 2021 tax return. The second step is your 2021 tax credit can be reduced below $2,000. But key point here, step 2 of the process doesn't kick in until your modified adjusted gross income, in my example, reaches $200,000 or more, or $400,000 or more if you're married filing joint. So to put it simply, you're going to have a pretty big increase in your 21 income compared to 2020 before you have to pay anything back. And if anybody out there wants to go through this for their personal circumstances, you can go to the irs.gov website, find our 2021 child tax credit and advanced child tax credit frequently asked questions. That was a long thing to say. So go to the irs.gov website, click on information about the advanced child tax credit, and you'll find these frequently asked questions. Then when you get to that frequently asked questions page, go to the topic calculation of advanced child tax credit payments. That'll allow you to work through your personal circumstances and see whether or not you might have something to repay. And keep in mind, using the IRS's child tax credit portal, you can unenroll from the advanced payments, re-enroll later, report an increase in your income, so the IRS can adjust your payments accordingly.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, we have a couple more questions, but what we'll do, they are listed in the chat, but we are out of time on our questions. So what I wanted to do is to move to the representatives to see if anyone would like to give us some closing thoughts. We can start with Congressman Price.
All right. Well, thank you, Tracy, and thank you to our two guests, and thanks to my colleagues for putting on a very informative event. I think probably Congressman Butterfield said it best, just go get it. Please take advantage of this. This is an unusual opportunity. It is very, very simple to take advantage of. In fact, as we've all said, for most taxpayers, it will be automatic. But you do need to know what's happening, and you do need to know some of the details in case you will need to apply if you haven't had tax obligations in the last couple of years and so forth. But I think for most people, it's going to be simple and straightforward, and it is really going to be a godsend here as we get out of this pandemic and get back on our feet as a community economically. So we're very happy to be able to spread the word about this tax credit. And I think on behalf of the three of us, I can say we're all going to work very, very hard to make it permanent.
Thank you. Congresswoman Ross.
I just want to echo Congressman Price's comments and say, to the point of the woman who wanted to help others, spread the word. So take care of yourself, take care of your kids, but please talk to your friends and your neighbors. Make sure that everybody in your community and your circle knows how to take advantage of this opportunity. It's for the children.
And Tracy, if I could close it out, let me just thank all of our listeners for participating today. It's been a very productive 60 minutes. I have certainly enjoyed it. I particularly want to thank Paul Axelson for his very valuable input, as well as Glennis Ingwall. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And to your colleague, Mrs. Rose Powell. I saw Rose nodding her head throughout the session, so I know she is in complete agreement with what we have all said. But thank you so very much for joining us today. I hope you all know that your elected representatives are working every day. We are working every day to mitigate the devastating impact of COVID-19 and to level the playing field so that every single family will be economically secure. And we will continue to face great challenges in this country, but we will continue to work on your behalf. We will return to Washington in just a few days, and we will continue to represent you as best we can. Thank you so very much for joining us today.
Thank you to everyone for joining us. This was a wonderful information session, and have a wonderful afternoon.